Yeah, Run It Back Nation, what is good? It is I, DJ Eastwood, Run It Back Philly. No frauds, no fanboys, no intros. You know the drill. Hit the like button on the stream. Shout out to 75 people in here already to hear me talk about Sixers, news, rumors, trades, ideas, all kinds of things. And we're going to be doing it every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at noon, lunchtime live, all off season long. Shout out to everybody in here already. Thanks for being here. This episode of Run It Back Philly Lunchtime Live is brought to you by Manscaped.com. Go to Manscaped.com. Use the promo code NOINTRO for 20% off and free shipping. That is no intro, the promo code for 20% off and free shipping. Get the perfect package. The perfect package at Manscaped.com will give you the perfect package, because it comes with the Lawnmower 4.0, the best razor I've ever used in my life. Skin-safe technology, quiet, has a flashlight, get your business done in the dark. But more importantly, take care of yourself down there without any fear of nicks, cuts, scrapes, anything like that. It's crazy. You got to try one, man. Lawnmower 4.0. It also comes with the hedge trimmer, nose hair trimmers. What are you guys doing walking around out here with nose hairs, man? Crop preserver. That's deodorant for your boys. You know what I'm saying? Take care of yourself, man. And the Crop Reviver, a couple spritzes of this if you're about to get lucky and it's been a long day, you don't have time to jump in the shower. Couple sprays of this. So the first impression is everything, man. What, you're gonna go tell her friends, hey, listen, we hooked up and exactly. Manscaped.com, promo code NOINTRO for 20% off and free shipping. Be sure to join the Discord or call the number on the screen to join the conversation. Don't forget also tonight at 10 o'clock, collaboration show. We just officially confirmed a couple of days ago, Run It Back Philly and A2D Radio every Monday night at 10 p.m. Tom Arnone, Ryan Bordeaux, and myself coming to you live on all platforms, both channels, replays on all podcast platforms, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all that stuff. Sixers, Eagles, whatever we want to talk, man. So join tonight at 10 o'clock. I think that's all I have to say, man. What's up to everybody in here? All right, so check it out. Over the weekend, there was some rumors that the Chicago Bulls are interested in Matisse Thybulle. And my first thoughts on this are, I told ya! I told ya! I told you, man. I said in an exclusive one-off 8-minute video about a week ago, you have to trade Matisse Thybulle before everybody finds out that he can't play basketball. You absolutely have to. You have to. He has value. He was just named to the All-NBA defensive second team for the second year in a row. This is an easy sell. This is a very easy sell. Matisse Thybulle has value. Other teams value his defense. Other teams do not know yet that you cannot play Matisse Thybulle in the playoffs, in the half court. You can't do it. It looks all nice and flashy during the regular season. But once those playoffs start, once you start playing against good teams, good coaching, athletes, strategy, they don't even guard him. They don't even look at him. Right when the playoffs started, first game against the Toronto Raptors, they were farther away from Matisse Thybulle than I've ever seen a defense play. They didn't even look at him. They had their backs turned completely, and he was yanked, a couple minutes in. He averaged 25.5 points per game. 25.5 points per game. That would be something, wouldn't it? Whatever the opposite of that is what he averaged points-wise. He averaged 25 and a half minutes per game during the regular season. And I want to say he averaged about 12 minutes per game in the playoffs because he was simply unplayable on the offensive side of the ball. But his defense, call it severely overrated if you want to. My guy Greg Melly called it highlight defense, or I think that's what I called it when we were having the discussion. But it's flashy. It looks nice. It shows up in the box score. At the end of the day, does it make the Sixers a better team? No. I love the kid. I think he's great. Got to trade him while his value is where it is. And that is as soon as possible. So the rumor comes out the Chicago Bulls are interested in trading for Matisse Thybulle this offseason. And then the question, of course, arises, what can you get for Matisse Thybulle from the Chicago Bulls? What kind of trade package would we be talking about? And I found an article, and I think this perspective is good because this article was written by a Chicago Bulls writer. And when some of the people told me Matisse Thybulle has no trade value or whatever, my response was, yes, he does. Other teams don't know yet what we know. So to read things from the perspective of another team and hear about how they talk about Matisse Thybulle just proves that point for me completely. By the way, shout out to all the supporters of the channel. I added something to the top of the screen, as you can see here. Most recent member, most recent subscriber, most recent super chat. Shout out to Daniel Hilt. And the super chatter of the month is up there in the top right. That is BLO_95. Thank you for the support. So, yeah, let's just read the article, and I'll give you my opinion on it, man. Shout out to everybody in here. Hit the like button on the stream. Looking to push past their first-round playoff elimination, the Chicago Bulls are heading into the offseason with a strong desire to add even more talent. Zach LaVine's pending free agency decision will likely be the biggest factor that shapes their summer, but the Bulls also have their eye on trading for Matisse Thybulle from the Philadelphia 76ers, according to Sean Devaney. Here's how a potential trade could work. And here's what I'm talking about right here. The Bulls' defense would take a leap with Matisse Thybulle trade. Or so they think it would. Pull the trigger right now. Right now. If the Bulls are intent on adding a top wing defender, Matisse Thybulle would certainly fit that mold. Just being named NBA All-Defensive Second Team, Thybulle averaged over 2 steals, 2 blocks per game since entering the league as the 20th pick in the 2019 NBA draft. And that's what I say. That's what I mean when I talk about his defense showing up in the box score, but maybe not being all of that beneficial to the team is, he can get beat 100 times. He can give you absolutely nothing in the half court on the offensive side of the ball. But if in that 25 minutes he got 2 steals and 2 blocks, he's a second-team all-defensive NBA. Everything's relative, man. This is funny right here. He's not one who needs the ball in his hands to be successful. No, you can't put the ball in his hands. He doesn't need the ball in his hands to be successful. No, you don't want the ball in his hands. Making him a perfect fit in Chicago along their many skilled offensive weapons. While his offensive game remains raw, you don't say. It's his defensive prowess that gets Thybulle 25.5 minutes per game on what was the 4th-seeded team in the Eastern Conference. I disagree with that. It was the Sixers' lack of basically any depth outside of Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, and James Harden that got Thybulle 25.5 minutes per game. I don't think it was necessarily his defensive prowess because, again, look at the playoffs and how many minutes he played. But we're going to let the Chicago Bulls think that. We're going to let other teams think that. Maybe there's a sweepstakes for Matisse Thybulle. Hunk in the chat says, sell him a little more, LOL. I don't think enough people are watching my YouTube channel for me to have any impact on a Matisse Thybulle trade. But, I'm flattered that you think I'm that important. Matisse Thybulle's stats, 5.7 points per game. Yuck! 2.3 rebounds per game, 1.1 assists per game, 1.7 steals per game, 1.1 blocks per game. EFG percentage 313, which is absolutely dreadful and horrendous. There's no doubt he'd retain a similar role in Chicago as he enjoys now as a tenacious defender on the wing who isn't afraid to mix it up in the paint. At 6'5", 210, Thybulle injects a versatile disruptor who can guard multiple positions, restricting an opponent's best scorer on a nightly basis. Matisse Thybulle trade won't break the bank. I mean, not money-wise, but you could be forced to give up some draft picks, or could be a package in a player like Zach LaVine. Could be maybe a heads-up trade for a Kobe White. I don't hate that idea. Ball handling, shooting, point guard off the bench in place of a guy who can't do that. I'm not saying he doesn't have any value at all. He could help the Bulls in the regular season. And the Chicago Bulls, if they keep Zach LaVine and you got Alex Caruso coming back and you got Lonzo Ball coming back, and of course you got DeMar DeRozan who was out of his mind this past season. Maybe for them adding a Matisse Thybulle is more valuable than having a Kobe White. So I could see that kind of trade happening. Whatever has to happen with money, contracts, things like that I didn't look into. But Nasir says Matisse plus picks for Lonzo. Don't think the Bulls are doing that. As far as trade compensation headed to Philly, the Bulls have several options. It's possible sending the 18th pick in the 2022 NBA draft for Matisse Thybulle. I don't know if that helps us. It doesn't help us in the short term, really. I think the entire idea for the 76ers this offseason is to try to be a championship contender next season, which is also why on this show I'm going to say some things that a lot of you are not going to like. But, I don't think in any trade this offseason you're looking for draft picks in return. The Sixers are not in any position to be interested in draft picks. The Sixers are not in any position to be interested in keeping their own draft picks for the next 3 or 4 seasons. They're not in any position to be focused on an NBA draft. They are in a position to focus on trying to win in Joel Embiid's prime years, trying to get James Harden, of course, maybe back into shape next season. If you're one of those, his hamstring was the reason or whatever, okay. I believe it's the fact that he parties till 5 in the morning and doesn't sleep, but that's just me. But yeah, I don't think getting draft picks in return is a good idea unless you trade Matisse Thybulle for the 18th pick in the draft, and then you flip that pick in maybe another trade package that could maybe land you a Donovan Mitchell or something along those lines. I don't know. Pat Culp, thank you for the support, man. $2 super chat says Lou Dort is an ideal player we would want, in my opinion. Lou Dort, does he still play for OKC? Ooh, that's hot. So where else are we at here? Lastly, if the Sixers are intrigued with the 7th pick from the 2019 draft, Kobe White's $7.4 million salary would work in a trade for Thybulle, but his contract would actually add more to their books for the 2022-2023 season, which means Daryl Morey and company would have to be creative with money. Who knows how available Thybulle truly may be this offseason? Well, I'll tell you how available. Very. Because a second-round exit in 2 years, there's a lot of players that are available on this Sixers team. I guess that leads me to my next topic. Tyrese Maxey reportedly is viewed as untouchable in trade talks. And I don't think I necessarily believe this 100%. I think for the right player that would put the 76ers in championship contention, Daryl Morey would pull the trigger on a Tyrese Maxey trade. I really think that. It would have to be significant. It would have to be earth-shattering. It would have to be Samuel Rowe says, what about Kyrie? Hell no. I don't want that head case anywhere near my team. And I don't think Kyrie really makes your team better. I just don't. He's a great scorer, one of the best scorers I've ever seen, one of the best finishers, maybe the best finisher around the rim for his size that I've ever seen. But no, I don't want anything to do with Kyrie Irving. There's just always something with him. Leaves for 3 weeks to go to his sister's birthday party. Leaves for 3 weeks because he joined a new religion. Leaves for 3 weeks because whatever else. Can't play half of the games. You know, all that stuff. But basically the Sixers, as the Sixers are reportedly looking into potentially putting a package together for another star, the next two names that pop up as possible trade chips are Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey. And then there's rumors that the Sixers feel that he is untouchable. Now, I think the Sixers would put something like that out into the internet universe just to let other teams know, hey, it's going to have to be for something amazing for us to give up Tyrese Maxey. I don't know about Damian Lillard in his prime. I mean, or getting towards the end of his prime. And he never wants to leave Portland. It would take him agreeing because I would assume he has a no trade clause in his contract. Lots of things would have to happen for that. And Damian Lillard and James Harden next to each other, I don't know. I understand nobody wants to give up on Tyrese Maxey. I understand Tyrese Maxey is the future. I understand keeping Tyrese Maxey, trying to build a championship team and keeping Tyrese Maxey is the ideal thing. Because if none of this process stuff works, if it's all turns into a giant fail, at least as you enter the next phase of the Philadelphia 76ers, at least you have Tyrese Maxey moving forward. But I have the perfect player that I would sadly say yes to in a Tyrese Maxey trade, and that is Donovan Mitchell. That is Donovan Mitchell because I need you to think about this for a second. Donovan Mitchell of the Utah Jazz is 25 years old. Somebody in the chat already said hell no, but listen. Donovan Mitchell is 25 years old. Donovan Mitchell last season averaged 25.9 points per game. Donovan Mitchell is an absolute bucket. Not the greatest shooter in the world. His three-point percentage was 35% last year, but he's shot better than that. The year before, 38%, 36, 36, 34. But when you talk about Tyrese Maxey, the main thing people say about Tyrese Maxey is he has the potential to one day become a 25-point-per-game player. And that's the main reason nobody wants to trade Tyrese Maxey. The main reason nobody wants to trade Tyrese Maxey is because one day he could potentially become a 25-point-per-game player. Joel Embiid, right now, is in his prime. Every single season you waste is a wasted year of Joel Embiid's prime. Now, say what you want about Joel Embiid. Can he stay healthy? Can he this? Can he that? I don't know. Every time the playoffs come around, I know the story. I know. But Joel Embiid is so damn good when he's healthy, you can't give up. And every single season of Joel Embiid's prime, you have to make an attempt to win a championship. So if you think we can't trade Tyrese Maxey because one day in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, he could potentially become a 25-point-per-game player, I agree with you. Donovan Mitchell is 4 years older than Tyrese Maxey and is a 25-point-per-game player. 2019, he averaged 24 a game. 2020, he averaged 26.4 a game. Last year, he averaged 26 per game. So you would basically, in my opinion, be fast-tracking what Tyrese Maxey gives you right now. You would be trading Tyrese Maxey in a package that gives you back Tyrese Maxey in 5 years. Oh, no, I think I'm a genius. I think I'm a genius. If that's what you want Tyrese Maxey to be, instead of waiting for him to develop over the next 3, 4, 5 years and Joel Embiid being done, you trade for Donovan Mitchell right now. You pair Donovan Mitchell and Joel Embiid. Maybe James Harden takes a step back. Maybe James Harden gets back to what he was doing in Brooklyn last year. Maybe James Harden is the ultimate facilitator. Then when Joel Embiid's getting double-teamed, triple-teamed, quadruple-teamed, you don't necessarily have to rely on 33-year-old, one hamstring, party till 5 in the morning James Harden. You have a 26-point-per-game player in Donovan Mitchell. Sean Ford says, Mitchell wouldn't even average what he does now on Philly because he's the number one offensive player in Utah. Take away 5 points per game from Mitchell playing with Joel Embiid. I agree with that. I don't see a problem there. I understand he's the number one option on the Utah Jazz. Just saying he is a 25-point-per-game player. I didn't say he has to average 25 points per game on the Sixers. Or maybe he does. I don't know. People thought Joel's scoring would go down when we got James Harden. It actually went up. But yeah, like a trade package would have to include, some money. It would have to maybe be Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey, and draft picks maybe. Maybe there's 2 or 3 teams. You never know. But in a perfect scenario, the absolute probably only way I would trade Tyrese Maxey would be if somehow, some way, it lands Donovan Mitchell on my basketball team. Brandon Droll says, I'd give Harden 1 more year. Well, I think you're going to have to because he has a player option for $47 million. He really, really likes his money. I would be totally shocked if James Harden didn't opt into a $47 million 1-year contract. There's rumors he could take less. The Sixers could offer him a 4 or 5 year at less than a supermax, and he would agree to that for the betterment of the basketball team. Come on, bro. What ties does James Harden have to the Philadelphia 76ers? What in the world? I could see if it was a Tom Brady type of situation in New England Patriots where he's been there for 10 years and then he's like, Peyton Manning, you know what I mean? I'll take less money so we can get more players on this team so we can try. Harden just got here. He has no loyalty to the Philadelphia 76ers. He's taking his money. And I don't think the Utah Jazz are trading Donovan Mitchell for James Harden. Just based off of what he looked like this past season. What's next on the agenda? The rumors that Doc Rivers could be traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. And this would make me very happy. This would make me very, very happy because I still honestly believe that to accomplish anything that we talk about when it comes to what the Sixers need to do, every comment I see, all of the stuff that I continue to see, it always says the Sixers need to develop young talent. The Sixers need to give their young guys more of a chance. The Sixers need to make Paul Reed and Isaiah Joe and Charles Bassey a major part of the rotation. Everything I've been seeing so far in this offseason can't happen unless you get rid of Doc Rivers. Hear me again. Everything that I've heard so far in this offseason cannot happen unless you get rid of Doc Rivers. Most of the issues we're talking about, lack of development, lack of giving young guys, it's all Doc Rivers, man. He got to go. He has to go. I just saw a shout out to Max Strus the other day. Undrafted player played for the Boston Celtics, was waived, whatever, and now is a starting caliber player on the Miami Heat in the playoffs. And on the bench, who's hardly getting any run, is Duncan Robinson, who's being paid $90 million by the Miami Heat. That is a ballsy move by a head coach that has a reputation and that knows what he's doing. If Doc Rivers was in charge of that Miami Heat team, the guy making $90 million, Duncan Robinson, would have been on the floor 40 minutes a game. Shout out to Romp, who hit me back on Twitter and said this exactly. He said Duncan Robinson will be getting 40 minutes a game. Duncan Robinson would have been out there getting 40 minutes a game, getting absolutely shredded defensively every single possession, every single game. Max Strus wouldn't even be sniffing the floor. He wouldn't even be on the squad. He would be in the G League or be on a different team. That's the difference between a good coach and Doc Rivers. I'm not saying you're going to get an Eric Spoelstra to coach this basketball team, but I do not see the benefit of Doc Rivers. There's a rumor that he could be traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, which would be funny, and I didn't have to look this up to know this is true. It would be the first time a coach was traded twice. Anybody that still believes Doc Rivers is a legendary coach, let's just run down real quick, okay? Doc Rivers blew a 3-1 lead with the Orlando Magic in 2000, I don't know, whatever, in the first round of the playoffs. Got bounced. The next year, they started this season 1-5, and he got fired from the Orlando Magic. Got hired by the Boston Celtics. Got handed Yawns trade for who? I mean, it's a coach, dude. You would trade, you would get draft picks back, basically. They would agree to take Doc Rivers' contract, and they would throw in a draft pick. I mean, you're not going to get LeBron James. He got fired from Orlando, hired from Boston, was handed a legendary roster, 4 Hall of Famers. How many years in Boston? 8, 9? Only won 1 ring. Only made the finals 1 time with 4 Hall of Famers on his team. He's such a legendary, wonderful coach that the Boston Celtics, even with him winning 1 ring, said, yo, we got to get Doc up out of here. And they traded him to the Clippers for an unprotected first-round draft pick. And then the Clippers threw together a team, traded for Kawhi, all the things that they tried. They did the Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, the Lob City Clippers, all this stuff. Doc Rivers couldn't get them to the NBA Finals. And the Clippers said, hey, yo! We got to get Doc Rivers up out of here. And they canned him. Didn't even trade him for a draft pick. Just, Doc, you're fired. Gave the job to Tyronn Lue, his assistant coach. The Sixers fire Brett Brown in a panic, trying to get Ben Simmons to shoot a basketball. They say, we're going to hire Doc Rivers, old school, hard-nosed coach. He'll get Ben to shoot. He shows up, babies Ben Simmons more than anybody that's ever babied him, argues with the media for a whole year. Ben eventually stabs him in the back and quits. Comes back the next season. Refuses to play young guys the entire year. Plays 37-year-old DeAndre Jordan the last 3 months of the playoffs. Plays Furkan Korkmaz, who was 1 for 700,000 from 3 in the last 4 months of the season. And then enters the playoffs and has to scramble to try to find guys because the guys he just wasted half of the season playing didn't work out as the media and fans were telling him. And then he plays Paul Reed in the playoffs. It turns out to be the right idea, so he's wrong about Ben Simmons. He's wrong about Paul Reed. On and on and on. I just don't see any benefit to keeping Doc Rivers as a head coach. I know Daryl Morey said it while sitting next to him, but in the Sixers' best interest, getting rid of Doc Rivers is in the best interest of the team. Now, firing him straight up is one thing, but if you can get a draft pick in return, sure, why not? I don't know why the hell the Los Angeles Lakers would want him. But it's L.A., another ownership group that just likes big names. When I really think about it, I can't for the life of me find out or reason why Doc Rivers even has a big name. Like, what did he actually do? Why is he known as? Why does he put himself on a Greg Popovich level? Why does he put himself on a Phil Jackson level? What has Doc Rivers done besides fail, win one championship with 4 Hall of Famers, fail, get fired, get traded? What has he done? So, you know what, LA? As a Philly fan, it would hurt us deeply to get rid of Doc Rivers. It would hurt us deeply to have to trade such a beloved coach, a coach who is just loved throughout the entire city of Philly. It would hurt us deeply. But Doc Rivers is such a legend, is such a great basketball mind, is such a genius with his basketball decision-making. And the Philadelphia 76ers just can't give Doc Rivers what he needs. He deserves more. And although it would hurt us deeply to watch him go, we would understand that Doc Rivers deserves greener pastures. And we would trade him to you out of the kindness of our hearts for an unprotected first-round draft pick. And like $500 cash. Woo! That's hot. Crossing Broad article. A Doc Rivers nugget from some NBA guy on Twitter. You decide if this is true or false or whatever you want to say. You know how Twitter goes. Random people. Guy doesn't even have a verified check mark. But Gary Wolfel. There are always rumors galore at the NBA pre-draft camps, and this year isn't any different, but 2 long-running rumors that are gaining increased traction. Doc Rivers to the Lakers for draft pick or picks as compensation, and Mike D'Antoni to replace Rivers in Philadelphia. Now, listen, I'm all for moving Doc Rivers, but I don't think hiring Mike D'Antoni does anything for you either. Kind of just another long-running NBA head coach who tried the same thing over and over, doesn't have a bunch of championships to his name or any reason. Like, let's get off of the big names. Let's get over the legendary whatever you want to say. Let's just fire Doc Rivers, and for the first time in 20 years or more, hire an NBA coach that maybe has played the game within the past 30, that maybe is a little more in tune with today's NBA, with today's generation. A young, open-minded, creative coach. Let's just promote Sam Cassell, for crying out loud. Please. Please. Just fire Doc Rivers, promote Sam Cassell. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. It's that simple. If you can get the Lakers to agree to pay this guy's salary, you do that today. You do that yesterday. God Samarvia says, bring back Larry Brown. Now, what's that guy, 75 now? What are you talking about? Come on, man. 323 people in here. Lunchtime live. Hit the like button, please. That would be greatly appreciated. And the last thing I want to do on this show is go over to the Discord and react to trade ideas that I had you guys post in the Discord. And I basically set up a Sixers trade ideas room in the Discord. If you would like to join the Discord, the link is in the description of this video and is pinned at the top of the chat on this live stream. And so I had you guys jump in this Sixers trade ideas room and post your best off-season Sixers trade ideas in there for me to react to on the show. So thank you to everybody that participated. Please do not go in the Sixers trade ideas room and post a bunch of nonsense or say random things. There is a sports talk room that is for general sports talk where we chop it up every day, back and forth. I join in there when I can. The guys keep the conversation going all the time in there. There's over 300 people in the Discord so far. But, yeah, I try to keep the other rooms for their intended purposes. So if you go in the Sixers trade ideas room, just go in there, give your trade idea, and bounce. All right, so Joey W215 posts and said, we get our third star and get off the Tobias contract and get Bogdanovich, who can play the 4 or the 3. Utah gets back a young guard who's going to be a stud, and Tobias Harris, who can help them. Still, at least he's a playoff. He is on a playoff team if they want to retool. I don't know what you meant there at the end. But basically, my guy Joey W215 posted in the Sixers trade ideas and proposed Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey for Donovan Mitchell and Bogdanovich using the ESPN trade machine. The trade is successful as far as contracts and money goes. And look, man, if Donovan Mitchell wants out and the Jazz are interested in moving him, obviously Tyrese Maxey is an amazing prospect. And the Sixers announcing that he's not available for trade just ups his trade value even more. Again, probably the only player I would trade him for would be Donovan Mitchell because he's 25 years old. He's a 25-point-per-game scorer. He averaged almost 6 assists per game last year. I like this trade, Joey, because you're also throwing into the Tobias Harris contract, and you're getting in return a veteran shooter in Bogdanovich. That's hard to say no to for me. That is hard to say no to for me. For you to get off the Tobias contract, sadly give up Tyrese Maxey, but in return, Donovan Mitchell and Bogdanovich added to this roster. And again, a lot of things depend on what James Harden looks like next season. But that one's hard for me to say no to. SLR in the chat says no. If you say no, I need to know why. Yukon456 says nobody is worth more than Maxey. I disagree completely. I already went over it a little bit, but I'm just saying Tyrese Maxey, you hope, can become a 25-point-per-game scorer. You're just speeding up the process. In hopes to win a championship in Joel Embiid's prime, you're getting 25-point-per-game Donovan Mitchell, who's only 25 years old. I think you would have to say yes to that. As sad as it would be to see Tyrese Maxey go, that's a great trade proposal, Joey. Thank you for that. My guy Eli, we get Harrison Barnes, who gives us Toby's production for half the price. We bring back Josh Richardson. Yuck! Oh. They got to make me sick on a Monday. Who has improved his three ball tremendously? I haven't paid attention to Josh Richardson much since he left, but good Lord, I don't want that guy anywhere near this team. Number 3, we get solidified backup center for Joel and Rashawn Holmes, who has signed up for the long run, and then we can groom Paul Reed into being the power forward of the future. Let's just take a look at this. I do think Sixers fans have somewhat of an obsession with bringing back players. I'm never really that interested in bringing back players just to do it. Josh Richardson, good God. I can't stand that guy. I don't like what his shot looks like. Like, that's the main thing for me with Josh Richardson. If he shoots 38% from 3, I still don't like it because I just hate watching him shoot the ball. But look, with any trade, you have to look at every team and say, would they do that and why would they do that? Because a lot of trade offers, a lot of things people send to me or tweet to me or message me or whatever, I always respond, why would that other team do that? So let's look at it, okay? The San Antonio Spurs would be trading Josh Richardson and Robert Langford, is that his first name? And getting back Danny Green, Shake Milton, and Trent Davis from the Kings. I don't know his name. You guys let me know in the chat. But does this benefit the Spurs? I mean, well, Danny Green has a torn ACL, okay? And there is another Danny Green thing that I'm going to get into about him wanting to come back next year. Terrence Davis, thank you for that, wanted to come back next year before the All-Star break. Listen, Danny, you're 36. You tore your ACL and your MCL. Yeah, so Danny Green has no trade value, sorry to tell you. Shake Milton, beloved in Philadelphia. Love you, Shake Milton. He's a G League prospect that plays good sometimes, disappears sometimes. Shake Milton doesn't have any trade value. The Spurs have absolutely no reason to make this trade, I don't think, in my opinion. The Sacramento Kings will be getting Matisse Thybulle alongside Tobias Harris. That's interesting, though, because, and not just for this trade scenario, but when you talk about trying to move Tobias Harris's contract, you say you're going to have to throw things in because no team's paying, look at that salary, $36 million for Tobias Harris. If you can attach Matisse Thybulle to Tobias Harris and get something in return that you feel like makes your team better, sure. Harrison Barnes in return, I like Harrison Barnes. But again, I think we're overvaluing a guy. You know? Harrison Barnes averaged 15.8 points per game on the bum Sacramento Kings. I know we hate Tobias Harris a lot sometimes when he plays bad. But Harrison Barnes that much better? I know you're paying almost half for Harrison Barnes. He's probably a better spot-up shooter. I just don't think this makes your team that much better, really, at all. It's a lot of moving parts for not a lot of improvement, in my opinion. Let's see what else we got in here. Joey says, I could bring back my Josh Richardson jersey. Yuck. Burn that thing, man. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. It hurts my eyes. Pronto, you guys are trying to treat this like a plug-and-play math equation. That's not how it works in reality. Some players play better in specific circumstances with specific other players and don't play so well with others. You have to look up the skill set and the mindset. Tobias was a bad contract, but he's a great fit. Okay, so Pronto is typing all of this basically to say, no, please don't trade Tobias Harris. Listen, Pronto, come on, bro. Tobias was a bad contract, but is a great fit. I don't care what fit he is, and I don't think he's a great fit either. And if you want to do anything to improve this team this offseason, you have to get rid of his contract, so it doesn't matter. You can't just get rid of him and expect that Barnes will come here, fit just as well, and continue his previous production. You can't, but you got to try it. You can't not make trades this offseason because you're saying, well, Tobias is a perfect fit, and if we trade for this guy, he's not going to. Well, guess what? We got bounced in the second round. So you have to make moves. Tobias is tough, humble, has size and athleticism, is a team player. You keep him, you don't trade him. I completely disagree. James Harden got here a couple months ago and has already upset everyone, and not for the right reasons. You get rid of him. Well, I don't think. Who has more trade value, really? James Harden or Tobias Harris at this point? I don't know. And I don't think Daryl Morey's trading James Harden anyway. Okay, here you go. I don't know how to say your name. But thanks for being in the Discord. Thanks for the trade idea. Furkan Korkmaz, Matisse Thybulle, Danny Green, and Tobias Harris. For Kelly Oubre Jr., P.J. Washington, Gordon Hayward, and Cody Martin. I wouldn't be interested in making a trade for another player who's getting past his prime and costs $30 million a year in Gordon Hayward. Sadly for Gordon Hayward, broke his ankle to smithereens in Boston, came back, got hurt again. I don't think Gordon Hayward improves your team too much. I would be more interested in maybe players you can flip, maybe other things. I'm interested in trying to find a way to move Tobias Harris's contract and get good pieces in return. I like Kelly Oubre Jr. You know, that's a good role player. That's a good player. Come off the bench. Some games is a no-show. Some games give you 30 points. You never know what Kelly Oubre Jr. is going to do. I actually can't even keep up with what team he played. I guess he played for the Hornets last season on a one-year contract. So who knows? Also, on the other side of this trade, Danny Green has no trade value whatsoever. Matisse Thybulle does. Furkan Korkmaz has no trade value whatsoever. I guess you're throwing in players just for money. So basically, Tobias and Matisse for Gordon Hayward, P.J. Washington, Kelly Oubre Jr., and Cody Martin. I got to say no to that. I think you can do better than that. I think you could sell Matisse Thybulle higher than that. But I don't hate it. There's some good role players there. I just don't like paying Gordon Hayward $30 million because that's basically what you're doing with Tobias Harris right now. Tobias stays healthy, but I think you can do better. Joj Ruruk, Sixers, Hornets, Tobias Thybulle, Korkmaz, Danny Green. Didn't I just say that? Oh, that's the one that he just posted. Okay. Wait, that's the one that guy posted. You posted the same thing this guy posted? Or is that the same guy? All right. Mavericks, James Harden, and Joel Embiid. Dylan, get out of here. Joe Ruruk, Sixers, Bulls, Tobias Thybulle, multiple picks for Zach LaVine and Patrick Williams. Zach LaVine, of course, pending free agency. Maybe the Bulls move him before that. Maybe not. I do think it's interesting to think about the Chicago Bulls, though, because Lonzo Ball comes back. Alex Caruso comes back. If the Bulls think, hey, we have a solid foundation here. DeMar DeRozan is still really, really, really good. And if they don't think that Zach LaVine is a great fit alongside DeMar DeRozan, two kind of ball-dominant guys, not very facilitator types, maybe they do decide, hey, if we just trade Zach LaVine, who has a ton of value, for players that fit better alongside DeRozan, Lonzo, and those guys, maybe they do decide to trade Zach LaVine. And in the event that they do, again, the Bulls are rumored to be interested in Matisse Thybulle. They would be taking Tobias Harris on that max contract. But if the Bulls think that makes them a better team by adding Thybulle's defense because they don't know yet that he can't play basketball at all and he's totally unplayable in the playoffs, I'd say yes to that. Because also, Zach LaVine, in my opinion, is a better fit alongside a facilitator like James Harden than he is alongside DeMar DeRozan. If you can move Tobias Harris's contract and you have to throw in Matisse Thybulle, I don't know about multiple picks, but if you get Zach LaVine in return, I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy with that. What else we got here? Lonzo, if we give Harden, if it's just Thybulle and Tobias the package, I'd rather have LaVine and Patrick Williams. Tobias, Thybulle, Korkmaz, John Collins, DeAndre Hunter, DeLon Wright. I like John Collins a lot. But I think you have to – I think if you're trading Tobias, does it make you a championship team? You would still be banking highly on Tyrese Maxey being a massive piece of your success. And I think it can be. I just don't know if it's this upcoming season yet for Tyrese Maxey. At not even 22 years old. I just don't know if it's this upcoming season yet. But Tyrese Maxey improved so much in one offseason, I wouldn't be totally shocked if he makes another massive leap and is a number 2 option next season. I think Tyrese Maxey was our number 2 option a lot of the times just because of how lacking this roster was at times, and James Harden not showing up like we thought he was going to, and on and on and on. A lot of things obviously just depend on how James Harden looks next season and Tyrese Maxey. But if Harden is back to his Brooklyn self, and then you somehow flip Tobias at Thybulle, I don't know why anybody would want Furkan Korkmaz, but for John Collins, you're giving Joel Embiid a stretch 4. Obviously more of an athlete than Tobias Harris, a better rebounder, a better finisher at the rim. You're giving James Harden a lob threat, which is what he's always kind of lived with and had in his career. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. Jay Rands is laughing, saying, now Sixers fans want Matisse gone. Laughing emoji, laughing emoji, laughing emoji, laughing emoji. I'm assuming you're one of those people that just thinks every single season the Sixers want to trade players. And you're right. Because every single season the Sixers fail and lose in the second round. So, yes, you want to move players that have value to try to improve your basketball team. I don't know why that's hilarious to you. But it makes sense to people that watch the game. What else we got here? Eli, this is kind of unrealistic, but just because how many players are involved, I think it's interesting. The Sixers get Evan Fournier, Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel, and Shannon Brown. Yikes. What in the world? I would never do that. Jodrick again. Patrick Williams for Korkmaz and Thybulle. It's not really a big splash to me there. JV the Prophet just posted in the Discord a couple of minutes ago, or 12:14 p.m. Thank you for that. Zach LaVine and Tony Bradley for Tobias Harris, Matisse Thybulle, Isaiah Joe, Jaden Springer, 2023 second-round pick. I think Isaiah Joe has potential, but of course we haven't seen it with Doc Rivers and the way that he coaches and the way that he refuses to play young guys and give anybody a chance. But again, man, if you're finding a way to flip Tobias Harris's contract and get Zach LaVine in return, I like it. I think it's a good trade. Like, I don't know about all the moving pieces, but I think Thybulle and Harris to the Bulls. I think the Bulls think that potentially makes them a better team if they feel like Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan aren't a great fit together. We get a backup center in Tony Bradley. I like Paul Reed at this point. I really do. And I think with another offseason of work and learning, Paul Reed can be our backup center moving forward. But I like it, man. I would be very happy if Zach LaVine ends up on this team next season. The Jazz aren't trading Rudy Gobert, I don't think. Although I did see a rumor that they might keep that they would be more inclined to keep Donovan Mitchell and trade Rudy, but trading both of them, no, the Jazz aren't doing this. The Jazz get Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, Nikola Vucevic, and some picks for Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. I mean, there's a lot of other players in there, obviously, but that's the main part of it. Why would the Utah Jazz blow up their team? The two players that have gotten them deep into the playoffs a couple years in a row now to have a 21-year-old Maxey, an overpaid Tobias Harris. Nikola Vucevic, who knows what he is so at this point in his career. And the Sixers get Tristan Thompson, Donovan Mitchell, Kobe White, Royce O'Neal. I mean, that's great for the Sixers. Donovan Mitchell, Kobe White, Royce O'Neal, Tristan Thompson, backup center. The Bulls get Rudy Gobert, Furkan, Charles Bassey, Matisse Thybulle. I mean, I just don't think the Jazz would do that. Romp, what's up, man? Romp posted in the Discord today a couple minutes ago. Cam Reddish for Shake Milton and Matisse Thybulle. Would the Knicks be interested in that? Is there rumors that the Knicks want to trade Cam Reddish? Didn't they just trade for him? Pretty sure the Knicks just traded mid-season for Cam Reddish from the Atlanta Hawks. I like Cam Reddish a lot. And Cam Reddish actually started putting up some numbers towards the end of the season with the Knicks. Giacomo said he is obsessed with Cam Reddish. He started putting up some numbers at the end of the season with the New York Knicks. I think you can probably get more from Matisse Thybulle, though, honestly. But Cam Reddish is a nice young wing to add to your team. I'm looking for a move that puts us over the top. I'm looking for a move that makes us championship contender. And if I had to pick what I think the best one is, I honestly think it might be the first one that my guy Joey215 posted, man. Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey for Donovan Mitchell and Bogdanovich. I think that puts the Sixers into the championship conversation. I really, really do. Still 305 people in here. What's up, guys? Thanks for being here. What else we want to talk about? Danny Green says that he plans to return before the All-Star break next year. Dom213, thank you for the support there. Doc Rivers trade back to L.A. Yeah, I went over that a little bit recently, and I missed the super chat. Mina, I'm sorry for missing your super chat there a couple minutes ago. She said Nick Foles signs a 2-year deal as a backup quarterback for the Colts. Literally could not care less about Nick Foles. Dom213, Doc Rivers trade back to LA. Yeah, I would please get that guy away from my team. I can't say enough how much I would love that. Bleacher Report mock trade has the Sixers moving Tobias Harris to the Hawks for John Collins. Philly would transform Harris's bloated salary into John Collins' more manageable $23.5 million. Collins versus Harris debate might come down to the eye of the beholder. Why would the Hawks be interested in moving John Collins for Tobias Harris? Tobias Harris had himself a very good playoff run as he averaged 17 points per game and shot 37% from deep. That might be a selling point. Like we were saying, trade value Toby in the playoffs. With Embiid and Harden around as well, the emergence of Tyrese Maxey, Harris is now regulated to the number 4th option on the offense. Harris deserves a ton of credit for adjusting to his new role. The Sixers need to add something new, and Collins might be that option. If you can move Tobias Harris for John Collins and keep Tyrese Maxey and Harden comes back better, Maxey has another offseason of development, I think I'm all for that, but I don't know what the reason would be for the Atlanta Hawks to want to add Tobias Harris to their squad for a $180 million contract. That's my only thing. I mean, it doesn't really – they didn't really go into that in this article either. They just skipped over the whole fact that, you know, the other team has to want to do that. 8 offseason targets for the 76ers from SB Nation. Trade Utah's Royce O'Neal. I like Royce O'Neal. He lit us up for like 40 points one time, but is that the best you can do for what they're saying in this article is Matisse Thybulle? Is that the best you can do is Royce O'Neal for Matisse Thybulle? I think you can do better. I think at his young age, being a second team all defense, I think you can do better than Royce O'Neal for Matisse Thybulle. I really do. But we'll see. Free agent Gary Harris. I like that. I like that a lot. Please. Gary Harris is one of those players that fits the mold of what I've been saying for years for the Sixers, which is like we don't have enough basketball players. We don't have enough guys that can come off the bench and shoot, dribble, pass, play the game. We have too many one-dimensional guys. I like Gary Harris, man. A lot of Sixers fans eyeball Gary Harris post-trade deadline as most expected him to be bought out. That didn't happen. Harris finds himself as a free agent coming off of a quietly productive season. Orlando is. I forgot that he plays for Orlando. I thought he was still with the Denver Nuggets, but I guess they traded him last year or something. I don't remember, man. Too much happens. I can't keep up. Orlando's at the forefront of the rebuild. I think it's safe to say that he probably won't be returning. I would like Gary Harris as a free agent signing. I would. Harris would provide the Sixers a capable two-way talent. He rediscovered his shot 38.4% from three last season on 5 attempts per game. All he would have to do offensively in Philadelphia would be taking and making more threes, and he's a player that at least somewhat can put the ball on the floor. Portland's Josh Hart. I like that. That would take a trade, however. Josh Hart's coming off a career season. I always liked Josh Hart. I would have liked to draft him, obviously, playing for Villanova. And he was a 4-year player at Villanova. He was NBA ready right when he came out. He's always been just a solid player. I like Josh Hart. These are the kind of players we need on this team. Outside of the stars, these are the kind of supporting cast type of players the Sixers haven't had for a long time. Or my entire life, basically. A huge factor in Portland's decision-making this past season was opening salary cap space for this summer, where they're rumored to be eyeing some big moves. Free agent Zach LaVine, restricted free agent DeAndre Ayton. Blazers might be open to some salary cap space, and they can do that by trading Josh Hart. Teams will be lining up if he was made available. Hart would bring some much-needed versatility to the Sixers' rotation, and he shines as a rebounder, an area where the Sixers were downright awful. I agree, and that's just cause and effect when you just have a roster full of a bunch of guys that can sometimes shoot but can't jump over a pencil. You're just going to be one of the worst teams in the league when it comes to rebounding and transition defense, things like that are a result of a lack of athleticism. Hart would be an expensive asset, but I would argue that he's worth it. But they didn't really say what the Sixers could give up in a Josh Hart trade. I would move. I'd be interested in Josh Hart coming back in a Matisse Thybulle trade. Who knows? Free agent Tyus Jones. Jones has developed into one of, if not the best backup point guards in the NBA. He's an analytics darling and has stepped up in every single game. Every single time Ja Morant has been out with injury, he's the definition of a solid, modern point guard. I agree with that. He was huge in some of those games, especially, the Memphis were like 26-5 without Ja Morant. Tyus Jones probably had a lot to do with that. And, we talk all the time about a backup point guard. Restricted free agent Dante DiVincenzo. I like that guy too. Obviously, what does it take to get some of these guys? Who knows? But I like DiVincenzo. Athletic. Can shoot. Restricted free agent Cody Martin. Free agent Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown was one of the brightest lights in what was a horrendous season for the Brooklyn Nets. That DJ Eastwood predicted for the second year in a row. Bruce Brown's nice, man. Combo guard. He stepped up huge for Brooklyn in certain situations. But again, all of these players are like guys that, the team drafts and develops. The Sixers don't draft and develop anybody, so now we're in a situation where we try to find these guys in free agency and trades. We might already have a Bruce Brown on our roster if we had a coach that could develop anybody. Cam Johnson. It wasn't too long ago that the Sixers Twitter was debating Johnson and Thybulle for their 2018 draft pick. Sixers never had an opportunity to draft him. The Suns traded back and took him 12th overall. I like Cam Johnson a lot. I think in a Matisse Thybulle trade, man, Cam Johnson coming back, Tyus Jones coming back, Josh Hart coming back, or you package him together with Tobias Harris and make a blockbuster trade. Who knows? But a guy that was clearly unplayable in the playoffs, I would be happy getting in return many of these combo guards who can at least give you something offensively off the bench in the playoffs. Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Jabbar Wright says Isaiah Joe would explode on another team. Probably. You're probably right. And that's really what gets... Another thing that gets me is, Daryl Morey drafted these guys. Obviously, he thinks they have value. Obviously, he thinks they can play in the NBA, or he wouldn't have drafted them. And he drafts them, and then he sits back the whole season and watches his coach refuse to give any of these guys a split second on the court and refuse to even try to develop any of them. Does Daryl Morey even like Doc Rivers at this point? The Maxey fanboys are triggered, Enrique says. We get too attached to players that we like. I love Tyrese Maxey. But again, if you said to me right now, I will give you 25-year-old, 25-point-per-game all-star Donovan Mitchell for Tyrese Maxey, I'm doing it. Because, again, your hope for Tyrese Maxey is that he one day could become Donovan Mitchell. So there you go. You get Donovan Mitchell. I don't think that's crazy. I remember a couple years ago I was saying the Philadelphia Eagles need to trade Zach Ertz right now while he has the highest value. Right when Dallas Goedert started to come up, I said, why do you need two good tight ends when you're lacking all these other positions? And then 2 years later, the Eagles are forced to trade him for basically nothing. And all of Eagles fans were coming at me. You don't trade Zach Ertz. He won a Super Bowl for this franchise. He's going to be here forever. Blah, 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 blah. Do you want to rebuild and win? Or do you want to just keep all the guys that you like? If you keep all the guys you like, you have TJ McConnell on your roster for the rest of your time. That's all I got, man. Thanks for hanging out with me today. 294 people still in here. Hit the like button. Join the Discord. I'll be back tonight at 10 p.m. with A2D Radio. Weekly, Monday nights, A2D Radio, Run It Back Philly. Tom Arnone, Ryan Bordeaux, DJ Eastwood. That's going to be fun, and we're doing that every single Monday night at 10. So tune in to that. That's all I got, man. You guys have a wonderful day. I got to go mow my grass. It's like a foot tall right now because it's raining, and then it's nice out, and then it rains, and it's nice out. I'm out. Peace.